Today we're going to talk about how to combine typefaces. Matching typefaces is one of the struggles that many people have. We want to use more than one typeface to make our design more interesting. But for a lot of us, we're not sure which ones go together. What if I tell you there's a secret? And with this secret, you'll be able to create nice typeface combinations. First, let's look at why we want to combine typefaces. The reason actually goes deeper than visual interests. We want our documents to have a hierarchy so it will be easier to read and scan. Hierarchy implies difference. If there's no difference, there'll be no hierarchy. In order for a hierarchy to be effectively established, there needs to be a lot of difference, or a strong contrast. Part of the contrast can be formed by pairing typefaces. If you want your typeface combinations to be successful, contrast is the secret. So what do we usually do? Often, when we try to separate headings from body text, we create contrast in the following 3 dimensions. Weights. We make the headings bolder or lighter. Sizes. We make the headings larger. Colors. We assign a different color to the headings. Changing weights, sizes, and colors can create contrast and establish a hierarchy, but there are additional dimensions we can play with to add contrast if we have more than one typefaces. They are proportions, letterforms, lettercases, and tracking. Now let's go through them one by one. Proportions. Typefaces have different widths or proportions. Some are narrow and condensed. Some are within the medium range. Others are fat and extended. This table summarizes the proportions of some commonly used web fonts. To create contrast, we can pair typefaces based on their proportions. For example, we can use Open Sans Condensed Bold in headings and Open Sans Regular in body text. We can use Montserrat in headings and Source Sans Pro in body text. We can use Oswald, which is condensed, in headings, and use a regular serif or sans serif font for body text. Note that typefaces that are too condensed or extended are not as readable as regular typefaces, so for body text, it's better to stay conservative. Letterforms. Letterforms are letter shapes. We're actually quite familiar with them because we use them to categorize typefaces. Serif and sans serif are 2 commonly seen letterforms. Other letterforms include display, handwriting, script, etc. To create contrast, we pick typefaces that have different letterforms. Remember that simple rule we often hear of that asks you to choose a sans serif typeface and pair it with the serif one. It's actually using the difference between letterforms to create contrast. We can also pick a script or display typeface for headings and pair it with a serif or sans serif typeface for body text. The possibilities are endless. The more distinct the letterforms are, the greater contrast we'll be able to generate, and the better our typeface combination will be. By the same token, we should avoid pairing 2 typefaces that are too similar in shapes. That's why you need to be more careful when pairing 2 sans serif typefaces or 2 serif typefaces. Letter cases. Uppercase words are blocky because their letters have the same height. Lowercase words have ups and downs in their contours because some letters have ascenders or descenders and others don't. Using this difference, we can create contrast through letter cases. If the headings are short, we can set them all caps to make them appear differently from the paragraphs, which are dominated by lowercase letters. If your headings are long and involve sentences, you might not want to make them all caps because doing so will decrease readability. Tracking. Tracking, which is letter spacing, can also be used to create contrast. It's commonly used along with uppercase letters because the extra spaces between uppercase letters can actually make them easier to read and give them a calm and sophisticated look and feel. Keep in mind that tracking lowercase letters in body text should be avoided, because doing so will break the contours of words and make them harder to read. Additionally, we need body text with no tracking to contrast with headings that have extra letter spacing. Boosting contrast. Now we've talked about 7 ways to generate contrast. Let's summarize them. They are font weights, sizes, colors, proportions, letter forms, letter cases, and tracking. Remember, the more contrast you have, the nicer the combination will be. To get a lot of contrast, we can stack them. For example, in my WordPress theme Jordan, I paired the typeface Oswald and Merriweather. I used Oswald in headings and Merriweather in body text. Oswald is a condensed typeface. I used it together with all caps and extra letter spacing. By doing so, I created differences in sizes, colors, proportions, letter forms, letter cases, and tracking. Lots of contrast, a nice typeface combination. Following this principle, we can easily come up with some successful combinations and some not so successful ones. When you go through each pair of typefaces, think about why it is successful or not successful using the 7 dimensions we talked about previously. Matching typefaces is an important part in typography. I hope that by watching this video, you'll learn that contrast is the indicator of successful typeface combinations and know how to pair typefaces more effectively. Have fun combining typefaces. If you find this video helpful, like it or share it with your friends. See you next time.